Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about reasons why women will say no to a date that I think are absolutely ridiculous and what you should do about it. Okay, so let's just dive right in. Number one is that she is an overthinker and she totally overthinks it. She takes the request for like a simple coffee date to mean that you are completely in love with her and you idolize her, you put her on a pedestal, and this is like your chance to get her out, and she just feels the pressure, right? And I think that guys could relate to this because I think that you guys actually will even react even more negatively when you get that sense of a woman putting pressure on you. My example of this is when a woman starts talking about like how many children she wants in the future on that first date. And it's like, whoa, put on the brakes. It's a little too much. So there is an understanding that I have of this, but I think that some women kind of utilize that and they get in their head a little bit too much when there's really no indicators coming from the man that this is a high pressure situation and that he doesn't have other options, or that he would just be completely fine without going out with you, that he wouldn't want to go out with you if you didn't want to go out with him. If those feelings are not reciprocated, women need to understand that most all men are not going to be interested anyways. So most of the time that I have found is that when guys are asking a girl out on a date, they really have not overthought it. It is just sort of them making an initial move in order to see if there's anything there. They really have not decided that they're completely into you. They're into you, they're attracted to you, and they want to go from there. That's really it. So there's two main things that I want to talk about with this overthinking woman. And that's the fact that, one, a lot of times she'll end up saying no to you if she's unsure about you. And that's really unfortunate. I think that that's where there's a lot of missed opportunities. You hear the stories about women that were close to saying no to a date and then they end up married and happy for 40 years, with this man, because they didn't know going to that first date, but they kept it open-minded and they weren't putting pressure on themselves for it to be a yes before it was a yes. And so I think that what guys can do in order to help reduce this type of situation is to make it low pressure, right? So to make the first date simple, I think that there's other reasons why you want to make the first date simple anyways, but I think that this is an additional reason why you want to make it a simple coffee date, or if you drink and she drinks and that, like to offer just going out for one drink and having it be so low pressure to where it's only you two. Like, don't do like the whole, oh, come out and meet my friends thing, because that brings along a lot of social pressure. Don't take her to meet your parents the first date. There's just things, the way that you talk to her. And I would say also the amount of time span between like meeting her and taking her out on that first date, if it's fairly short, and you haven't like invested a whole ton of conversation about her, you don't know her that much, and she knows that you don't know her that much, there will be less pressure, right? So it's really just that initial, how you're talking to her, really keeping expectations low and keeping her expectations low, I think is key. All right, number two, she thinks that you are not on her level. That's also why she will say no to a date, which I am listing as one of these crap reasons, simply because we know how dating is today. And I think that a lot of women are a bit inflated about themselves, and they really are putting themselves at 8s and 10s when they should be a little bit more realistic. And I hate using those numbers because I think that everyone has worth and we shouldn't be rating it on a scale. There should be like some other way to communicate this, but it's just that some women really do think very highly of themselves to where they think that a man that's actually pretty similar to them is unworthy of them. And that's what's messed up. So, what's tricky about this situation is that she might be talking to you because she's sort of trying to figure out if you're on her level, but she doesn't know that much about you initially, right? You guys haven't gone out on that first date. So, there's a lot of assumptions that she's making, and probably a lot of judgments, to be honest. So if this girl is using this reason to say no to you for a first date, it indicates to me that she has a long list and she wants to find a guy that check marks all of her boxes perfectly. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to be very difficult for her to meet that ideal man and for him to want her back, because that ideal man might have the same sort of list and he might have a lot of options. He probably does. And even if you, as a man, if you think that the solution is to figure out what her boxes are and to make yourself and mold yourself into checking all of those boxes, that is the wrong way to go. In this situation, the only recommendation that I can give is to walk away from this type of woman. The truth is, if she is indicating to you that you are unworthy of her at that initial meeting, contact, whatever, even before the first date, that's not going to get better in time. And you will be chasing and chasing something that will never be yours. And that is not fun. On to number 3. This is sort of similar to number 1. I almost boxed it into the same one, but this has more to do with like physical attraction. So she might be really unsure about you as far as her level of attractiveness towards you. So this, I feel like, is honestly most guys, because I think that objectively a lot of women will have maybe the same level of attraction towards what you guys like to term as chads, but that's not exactly how women's attraction will typically form over the long haul. So women can look at a guy that is a chad and maybe be able to swoon over him and talk about him and as if she's attracted to him, but it's very visually a superficial type of attraction. Women's attraction works very differently and it goes really deeply, and women will become more physically attracted to a man that she's really emotionally tied to. If they've been in a long-term relationship at all or a committed relationship, then they know that level of attraction that comes along with that. And even as a man goes through changes, like whether he gains 20 or 50 pounds, or he's growing a beard when he never had it, or he lost his hair that he used to have when they first started dating, but she will say that she is still just as attracted to him because they've really built up this emotional connection and they've maintained that within the relationship. And she is not lying to you. Women are not lying when they're talking about how attracted they are to maybe their overweight, bald boyfriend, long-term boyfriend or husband. So what is the fix to this? Because this is a tough one. How do you convince somebody that you're going to build this emotional connection over time, even if she thinks that you're not that attractive right now? And I would say in these cases, men have the most success in warm environments in which you guys can actually get to know each other in person for a period of time before you take that step forward in order to ask her out on a date or to express that sort of interest. So in this way, if you know a woman in a warm environment, such as your workplace or any kind of other social group or group in which you do a hobby, let her warm up to you. Don't see this new woman in this group maybe and then oh my God, you're attracted to her, and then you're hitting on her right away and expressing that interest. It might push her away a bit. So unless you're a chad, honestly. So if you know you're not falling into that category, just let there be some time and almost develop, I don't want to say like full blown friendship because I think that can get you in trouble too. You don't want to end up in the friend zone, but you just want to have some casual conversations with her, make her laugh, see if there could be some sort of connection. Just kind of express who you are, let her know who you are, and without pressure or needing anything back from her. And then, after a handful of times at least of having these kinds of conversations with her, that's the time to make your move. Number 4 is getting into what I just hinted at, is it's a little bit dangerous if you become too much of a friend, right? And you end up in the friend zone. So she will also say no to a date if she sees you more as a friend and she doesn't see you as a boyfriend potential. She likes to have the emotional support from you, probably, but she doesn't see there being a physical connection. She doesn't feel the spark. So, what do you do in this case, guys? I think there is only one solution. This is similar to number 2. I think that you have to walk away from this. I do not think that you can convince her that she is going to form an attraction to you because you're already friends, which means that there's already an emotional connection. And if she hasn't been able to form attraction to you, then it means that the physical attraction is not there. So you don't want to continue on trying to be in her friend zone. You just want to walk away from this type of situation because she will most likely become just sort of like this emotional support and this energy sucker vampire. And time and time again, I see where men are in this situation, and the only case in which I say, all right, it's fine, continue, would be is if you are fully aware of the situation, that you're fully aware you're in the friend zone, and you really don't mind keeping it at that level. That you are getting something from her as far as like a friendship and attention and maybe some emotional support back, then that kind of sounds honestly more like a friendship. So there is a difference between friend zoning and friendship. And usually in friend zoning, she's not giving you that stuff back. So you got to assess your situation as are you getting anything back from what you're giving? And if not, you're probably in the friend zone, and that's where I would recommend walking away. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video and that this was helpful. Check out next week's.